Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So tonight is going to be the second installment of the Knights Rebels MC series. If you haven't read the first book, Incandescent, and you are planning to, please go read that before you listen to this review. A good portion of this book takes place during Incandescent, so there's going to be a lot of spoilers for Incandescent based off of this story. So, that being said, let's move on with the review. So the second book of the Knights Rebels MC is Affliction. Now again, I love the black and white with the shading for the cover art because, especially with characters that have tattoos, because it creates such a contrast for the lettering and the pictures of the tattoos. And then River Savage's name is in purple for this one. So this is the story of Sai and Holly, which if you've read Incandescent, which I'm hoping you have, you're going to recognize the characters. So trigger warnings for this book. Miscarriages. If you've read Incandescent, then you know that Holly is going to go through a miscarriage in this book because she was shot by Cadence's fiance. Child death. One of the characters in the book is constantly in grief over the death of their child. I'm not going to say dubious consent, but I am definitely going to say dubious intent for intercourse, because there was an issue where a certain someone wanted to go ahead without protection, even though he was told to get said protection. Not a great look. And then of course there's going to be, you know, if you're getting shot in the stomach, then chances are there's violence. So that being said, also PTSD and flashbacks, because they both have a variation thereof. So, going on to the synopsis. This is the story for Sai and Holly, which I think I already said. Sai, just like with the previous books and just like with all of the main novels in the series, the very first chapter you get hit with a doozy. So Sai is sitting in a doctor's office with his wife of the time. It is their daughter's doctor, who is proceeding to tell them that her treatment for cancer is no longer working. I believe it's leukemia that she has. The doctor proceeds to tell them that they need to start moving forward with bone marrow transplant. And he tells them neither of them were matches for their daughter's type. And then he turns to Sai's wife and says, "Is there any chance the biological father would be a match or be willing to be tested?" And that was how Sai found out that his daughter was not his biologically. So, gets you right in the feels, right from the beginning. And then from there, it cuts to where Sai and Holly meet for the first time, which if you've read Incandescent, you know. They met at the tattoo shop when Holly decided she wanted to get a tattoo and dragged Cadence with her. And then she proceeded to get turned down by Sai because she was in fact too drunk. Holly is an interesting character. She is a female who is very in tune with her sexuality, which is a good thing. And she's also very much a person who's like, I'm going to play the field. I'm just going to do what I want until I'm ready to settle down, and that's that. Which is also cool. I think a lot of people have had that phase of their life, and I think that's normal. So she sees Sai, and she definitely takes an interest in him right off the bat. He's broody, he's sexy, he's, hot, he's this tatted up biker dude. And she's like, I see another notch for my bedpost. Ooh, sorry about that. See another notch for my bedpost. Sorry, I have a bottle of water here for a reason. very dry now, so. But, okay. Sorry, I had to try and remember where I was at with my train of thought there. But Sai is very much not wanting to get involved with anybody. He's like, I'm done with that part of my life, you know. And he's very much caught up in his grief for his daughter, Kira. No matter the fact that she wasn't biologically his, as far as he was concerned, that's his daughter. And he, very much like Nyx, was very devoted to his daughter, adored her, thought, she was the center of his universe in so many ways. And so her being gone has really led to him being very lost in many ways. And you very much feel for Sai throughout the book. That being said, it does not excuse some of the behaviors that come from Sai in the book. Sai keeps fighting his attraction for Holly, but he can't really fight it. So what ends up happening is they get into it, they end up having sex, and I believe every single time they hook up, Holly tries to remind him, the first time, neither of them think about it. So I guess in a way it's a little less, it's kind of understandable. But the next time, I can't remember if it was the second and third time or if it was just the second time, but at least one of the times Holly told him, you need to get a condom. We can't do this unprotected again. And he was like, no, I just need to get in you. Sorry for the graphicness if you're not into graphic visuality. But, and he just basically proceeds to go on. Even after she told him, you need to get a condom. So that's where some of the dubious intent kind of comes from. It wasn't a question of whether she wanted the sex or not, but it was the fact that he didn't go for protection as requested. So, and I know different people have different viewpoints on it, but my viewpoint is if the chick says put a condom on and you don't put a condom on and then you proceed, that's pretty bad. That's not a good look for anybody. So, and as anyone who has a rudimentary understanding of how the human body works understands that this is when Holly becomes pregnant. So, then of course she and Cadence are abducted by Cadence's ex-fiancé, Zane, and his buddies, and in an altercation she is shot, and as a result she loses the baby. Problem is, she never told Sai she was pregnant. She literally just found out she was pregnant the day that she and Cadence had been abducted, so she never had a chance to tell anybody. She called and told her mom as soon as she was coming out of the doctor's office, but she didn't know what to do. Or at least, I'm blanking now. I think it was the day of when they were abducted that she found out. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, it could have been a day or two later, but either way, it wasn't very long after she found out. So it's not like she hid it for weeks and weeks. It was like a day or two at most. And it was really her coming to terms with what was going on. Because at this point, Sai has made it clear to her that he doesn't want her in his life. Like when she got to the barbecue with Cadence in the last book, he very much got into her face. There's a reference in Incandescent where Cadence says she didn't know where Holly had gone to. Well, Holly was having a verbal battle with Sai because he was in her face and he didn't like the fact that she was in his club. Even though he knew when he hooked up with her that she was in fact Cadence's best friend. And being that Cadence is the girlfriend of the president of the motorcycle club he's in, she's gonna be around. And as far as I'm concerned, he should have thought about that before he hooked up with her. But that's just my opinion. Disagree if you like, put a comment down below, let me know what you think. So So then from this point on, pretty much all of the overlap between Affliction and Incandescent pretty much is done, because Incandescent is pretty much over by this point. So I'm going to try and keep any other spoilers to a minimum, just because all of the spoilers I gave you are ones that you're going to find in an Incandescent before you read this book anyway. I mean, technically these are books that can be read as standalones, but I do recommend reading them in order, just so you don't accidentally get lost or have like a previous story spoiled for you. So through a lot of the story, it's each of them dealing with the loss of their children, each of them trying to open up. Cy did realize after Holly was shot that he did care about her, he did want her in his life, and that he loved her, and that he didn't mean any of the stuff that he'd said. And he really does try to make good. He does try to mend fences. He does try to do right by Holly. And he starts opening up to her about what happened with his daughter Kira, with his ex-wife, what happened after Kira died between him and his ex-wife. And he didn't realize that he was making it harder for Holly to tell him about their baby, because then she started thinking, oh my God, how is he going to deal with the death of another child? And of course, other things are going to ensue, but most of what happens in this one is pretty much about the couple. There is one side storyline that goes on, and it does play into the next two books, and that is the fact that one of the other members of the MC, Bo, who is in fact Nix's best friend, he is very heavily into helping women who are in abusive relationships get out of those relationships. He works with a group that has this underground movement where they help women. Literally, they have people that will come to where they're at, pick them up, take them to, say, location 1. From there, another group will come and pick them up and take them to location 2. And nobody knows which location they're going to except for the people doing the driving from location 1 to location 2, from location 2 to location 3. And it kind of creates this plausible deniability for anybody who comes looking for their wife that they've been using for a punching bag. Which is kind of an interesting storyline, because in this one, you find Cy goes with Bo to go pick up a woman who is being taken to a location to get away from her husband. Come to find out, she is in fact the mayor's daughter-in-law. So, and this is going to come back to bite them in another story, but also later in this story. So Holly and Cy have to work through their grief separately, and then after things come to light, they have to deal with their grief together, and figure out a way to navigate it, whether it's together as a couple or separately just as friends who have gotten through this together. I'm not going to give away which it is. I think, generally speaking, most novels have the same endings, but I have come across a couple that have some very big twists in them, so I'm not going to give it away, because you don't know yet. So at the very end of Affliction is the setup for the next book, and what happens is there is a party at Liquid, which is the nightclub that the Knights Rebels MC owns. Jesse Carter runs it. He is one of the funnier characters. He's got all these cheesy jokes. He's just adorable. The mayor's son comes demanding to know where his wife is. He ends up breaking a liquor bottle and holding it to Holly's throat. Jesse steps forward and to get her away from him, and he ends up going to the hospital for, I believe it was a leg injury. And that is where he meets Nurse Bell, and that's basically the setup for the next book. So, As for the characters, Holly, she's a likable character. She's very much a party girl. She's like the type of chick that you'd want to be friends with, but you're not sure that I'm not sure I would want my brother having a relationship with someone like that. But then again, once she settled down, she did very much become a devoted person, whether it was to Sai or someone else, I'm not going to say. But as for Sai, he's a very brooding character, very lost. But once he realized what he wanted and that he wanted to be with Holly, he was very much about fixing the relationship, making a good relationship, and moving forward. As I've already said before, I didn't care for the fact that when she told him she wanted him to use a condom, he chose not to. But the fact that he didn't even really change his behavior or attitude towards his daughter Kira after finding out she wasn't his, I think really does speak well of his character. And I'm not trying to use that as a way to explain away or justify the condom issue, but I do see that as a very good quality for the character. Very much enjoyed it. I've given that, I didn't give the ranking on the last books, sorry. So Incandescent got a 4-star and Affliction got a 4-star as well. So I hope you enjoyed the reviews so far. I hope you're finding them insightful. I hope you're finding them helpful in deciding whether or not you would like to try these books. I really hope you do decide to try them. I think if you're someone who's into romance novels, that these are ones that would definitely be interesting, if nothing else. So look forward to seeing you all for the next review, when we are going to review the 3rd book of the Knights Rebel MC series. You have a wonderful evening all. Take care. Bye bye.